just heavy, bro, to read about atrocious things going all over the world, and you just like they just keep stacking and stacking, and it's like it's not just atrocities for the sake of it. It's more like how can we? It's like things that are like traditions, and it's like these need to be talked about. Like you got to focus on this negativity because you
What do you mean?
actually
What do
can
you
change
mean
it.
traditions? Like
Like
these are the ways in which the men and women interact with each other in
like
these parts of the
literal
world.
literal practices of the. I mean, there's crazy
It's
stuff
not.
too.
It's not just like
No, it's
a
not just like
subset of the people that are,
no, or
misbehaving.
no.
This is like
Well, yes, and it's not misbehaving. It's like you
it's
have
a
to.
part of their culture or tradition.
It's yes, the latter, all of it. Like there's traditions that are damaging, and I could get into for sure. But I mean, it's the reason why you got to focus on it is because it's not just like isolated events. It's habitual treatment of humans in different places all around the world that are replicated based off of systems that have been in place.
Mm.
And even in the U.S., we had it. You know what my prof told me the other day is that in the U.S. and Pennsylvania up until 1983, there was a law that you were completely illegal, or maybe he was 83 or 73. It was completely legal for his husband to beat his wife up until 8 p.m.
So all throughout the day,
All through the day until after 8 p.m. and after it wasn't allowed. Why do you think that is?
the noise.
Yeah, because it would wake up the next man
Uh,
next door, and you can't wait. He's got to get on the job.
you don't want to wake up the next angry man who's beating on his wife
Exactly. So keep it
because then he's
before
not going to get his good rest.
exactly to go work the
Oh
construction
my
site.
god.
So keep it before 8 p.m. Yeah. So this shit ain't just all over the world, man. This is right here on our
It
doorstep.
is. I mean, you see, there's people all across the country getting in serious trouble, and people that aren't getting in trouble for domestic violence
All kinds of
and
stuff.
crimes of that nature. Which
There's all
I
kinds
don't
of things that
even.
need to be
That stuff
ex-
that like really, I yeah.
it's all kinds of stuff that needs to be examined. Like it's not just it's easy to sometimes like for myself, I find myself like being like, oh, looking elsewhere because I'm curious about the world and I want to know about other problems, other places. And that's all well and good, but it's also equally important to focus on what's going on here, like compared to other places. Like, how can we improve as a society? And
Violence is crazy. Like it's almost like desensitized violence is one thing. Like committing
that's a
violent.
great example.
Com-
It's a great point. Keep going.
I was going to say like committing acts of violence upon a group of people with whom you have no affiliation
Yeah,
or understanding, or maybe you have a wrong belief, or you've been conditioned to feel a certain way about these type of people. Like there is some part of me that doesn't in any way agree with, but can understand how human nature can lead people to
yeah,
doing that. But fundamentally, what I cannot understand is violence committed upon those with whom you are in love or connected with, for whatever reason. I've never, it's insane to me. Like I know that love and intense emotions can bring things out of people, but just like for who my character is and obviously how I was raised, probably, and a myriad of other circumstances, that's something that is not okay at all and
yeah,
shouldn't be for anybody. And it's just like, it's just sad. And like the fact that that was happening up until I would caution on the side of saying it was probably 73, if not
there's a
the
good
law. Yeah.
maybe
But
73. I would say there's a good deal chance though it was 83. You can read.
crazy.
Yeah, that's a great point
But I
though,
mean,
Garth.
that's just,
But think about it like this: is what if I tell you that beating on those that you love in your certain distinct culture is a representation of your love?
I mean, that's it. It's like the stuff when you were talking, when we were having a conversation the one time about like just people's perception of time, I think it was. And you were
Mm-hmm.
like, no, because there's other people in these small tribes or groups in the world where they fundamentally believe differently. So like your generalization, I forget exactly what I was saying,
I
but
remember.
my generalization in that circumstance did not reign true. And But I mean, it's a good point, I guess. I don't agree with it. Like, I don't think that any part of like
Oh, I
violence.
don't agree either. And this is a whole. We got to be. I mean, just be like totally. We got to be. This is a very, very, very complicated
Absolutely,
conversation, and we're
we're
not.
not experts.
No, and there's like all these terms, and I'm no way from the things I've learned. I'm just no way do I know anything. Like I think we will just care and are in like and
I think
whatnot, and we're
we're
trying to figure out how to move forward as people in our future in our life of
yeah.
how to carry and do
But I
things.
think we can also both say like we, nothing like that has ever happened to us,
Yeah,
obviously, or I've never, it's a it's a soft thing to talk about, and I think
yeah, definitely some due
we
diligence.
need to be just respectful of. I mean, we're just having a conversation ourselves, but also like this is not something that is taken lightly.
No, and
And
I
for a
think
lot of people, these type of things and this type of violence can mess with someone's
I
entire
just
life. So
I
yeah,
think that the term can be. You gotta make sure to look it up, but cultural relativism is a
okay.
big term in this regard, and I think
Would that in essence essentially mean that like something that is relative in a certain culture might be completely
yes,
ostracized in another person's
exactly,
culture?
cultural
But
relativism, and that's the point is that there's like debates of like if you wanted to maintain cultural relativism, you wouldn't the adverse the inverse of cultural relativism could be the application of your own preconceived
mm,
objectivity. So
and
then it's like, but then you're
yeah,
like, but then the thing is where I just to me, and I this is my own personal opinion, is that I don't give a fuck at the end of the day about that. If like there's a line in the sand of humanitarian treatment
I
where you
agree.
treat people, and
I
it's
think
like,
that's an important point.
but I think to understand both sides though of that, and just like think that because I think we can just in the U.S. we can just look at other places and other people and be like,
Point a
you can
finger.
easily just hear how could you do that or
Yeah,
how is that possible,
yeah,
and that can be for really extreme things or less extreme things. But if you just think, if you maintain the idea of cultural relativism and try to in like think about how a place different from yours could gain these insights and function in this way for this
yeah.
reason, it's helpful. But then you can't. I don't think that can means that that does not by any capacity mean you
I mean,
override humanitarian treatment of people.
there's levels to this shit, man. Like when I was
100%.
in when I was in Morocco, we were staying with Aziz, surf guide at the Boilers,
Yeah.
amazing man, and we saw a lot of things that were completely different than they are here, and
Yeah.
things are, you know, things and the way in which the men and the women in a relationship interact in those parts of the world looks more like things here maybe 100 years ago or more than that even. We were where we were staying. It was like his Aziz, his wife, was doing all of the cooking, all of the cleaning. We weren't even really allowed to like touch or
Intervene.
intervene because it was messing with the way in which their culture approaches these situations. So it was like, I'm like, please, can I help? Like, let me put these dishes or whatever it was. Like, they would just serve breakfast to us. And that was like, it's weird because it feels wrong. It's like, that's in my world here, it's like that shouldn't necessarily be the role, but for them, that's how things are, and that's how things have been for a really, really long time. And the woman in the partnership has certain. I want to be careful here how I say this, but this is just how it is in those parts of the world. It's like they have the duties that they have, and the man has other responsibilities that he has. And during Ramadan, there's certain things. It's like the women, they cook the whole fast at the end of they cook the whole feast at the end of the fast when they break fast. And there's all these aspects of this that are like, whoa, is this? And you kind of see it and you're like, is it bad? Is it
It's
wrong?
complicated.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It works for them, but like some part of me is like, are these do these women get really a chance to express themselves and find what brings their soul peace, or are they kind of just like, there's all these questions. But to your point, like cultural relativism, the way in which that we see it and the way in which that we experience it isn't necessarily how it exists in those parts of the world.
Yeah.
So to try and look at it from, their standpoint, say, okay, well, it's different. I'm not the one to say if it's right or wrong. Um, Obviously, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.